I had this toothache a while back, and well, it turned out I needed a root canal. And let me tell you, not fun. But the endodontist, the specialist who deals with the inside of your teeth, was just amazing. They had this tiny little microscope and everything. And it really got me thinking about how specialized that work is. It's like being a watchmaker, but with nerves and blood vessels
Yeah.
instead of gears. So that's what we're diving into today, the world of specialist dentists. And we've got a ton of info from RoleCatcher to help us unpack it all. They're a platform that helps people navigate their careers.
And it is fascinating, right? I mean, most people, when they think about dentistry, they think fillings, cleanings, that sort of thing. But like with your root canal, it gets way more in-depth than that.
Yeah,
We're talking really intricate procedures, often with, like you said, microscopic precision. It's a whole range of oral health needs that they address.
totally. And the RoleCatcher guide really digs into the specifics, the who, what, when, how of becoming a specialist. One thing that surprised me was that it's not just about being good with your hands. They listed reading comprehension as a core skill, which seemed kind of strange at first. But then I thought about all the research, patient histories, all those x-rays a specialist has to interpret.
Yeah, it's like being a detective almost.
Hmm.
A patient might come in and say, my jaw hurts, but the specialist needs to figure out why. Looking at their history, the x-rays, connecting all the dots, that's where those analytical skills are so crucial. And then on top of that, you've got to stay updated on all the new dental technology. It's a lot.
Okay, so we're already seeing there's way more to this than meets the eye, but before we go too far, let's clarify what being a specialist dentist actually means. It's not just one title, right?
Definitely not. Just like in medicine, dentistry has all these different branches. So you've got orthodontists. They're the ones focused on correcting bites, straightening teeth, braces, clear aligners. That's their domain. Then you've got periodontists. They specialize in gum health and gum disease. And then there are oral surgeons who deal with the more complex procedures, extractions, implants, even treating facial trauma. That's their area.
Wow, so many options. It seems like you could really find your niche, something that fits your interests and skills. The guide even mentions some specialists focus on specific types of patients, like pediatric dentists who work with kids.
Right, exactly. And that's something we definitely want to dig deeper into. All those different specialties, what they actually do day to day, how those roles change over a whole career.
Okay, so let's get into it. The RoleCatcher guide breaks down all the usual tasks and responsibilities of a specialist dentist. But before we get into the nitty-gritty, what would you say are some of the core things these specialists do every day? What's a typical day like for them from your perspective?
Well, it really depends on the specialty, of course. But usually a specialist dentist day, it all revolves around patient care. So that means consultations, where they're diagnosing problems, figuring out treatment plans, talking through the options with the patient. And then there's the actual hands-on work, the procedures themselves, which could be anything from fitting braces to, like I said, those really intricate surgeries.
Yeah, that sounds like a real balancing act. Using those analytical skills we talked about, but also having the steady hand to actually do the work. One thing that jumped out at me in the guide was that they listed reading comprehension as an essential skill. Which, when you say it out loud, it sounds kind of funny, right? Like for a dentist. But then I thought about it, and it makes sense. They're always reading medical journals, keeping up with the latest research.
Oh, absolutely. Continuous learning in this field is key. There are always new technologies, techniques, materials coming out. And a specialist needs to stay on top of all that.
Hmm.
And it's not even just the technical stuff. They have to be really good at explaining things too, being able to break down those complex procedures for their patients, making it easy to understand, putting them at ease.
So it's like they're educators as well as practitioners. And speaking of education, let's talk about the elephant in the room, the training. 8 to 10 years is a long time. What does that actually look like, that whole journey?
Yeah, it's a demanding path, no doubt about it. So you're talking 4 years of undergrad, which is tough enough on its own. Then it's 4 years at dental school. And that's just the beginning. After that, if you want to specialize, then comes residency. And that can be anywhere from 2 to 6 years, depending on the specialty.
Wow, so it's like you get your foot in the door, and then there's this whole other career behind it for the specialization. And during those residencies, that's where they're getting the hands-on experience, right? Working in their chosen field alongside more experienced specialists.
Oh, exactly. It's like an apprenticeship, you could say.
Yeah.
Really honing those skills, getting
Mhm.
those techniques down, building confidence, all under the guidance of these seasoned mentors. And usually during that time, they're also doing research, maybe presenting at conferences, really immersing themselves in that specific area of dentistry.
So it's not just about putting in the hours, it's about really contributing to the field. That's a serious commitment, but it can't be all work and no play, right? The guide also mentions some of the, I guess you could say, unexpected perks of this career path.
Oh, yeah, there are definitely some good ones. One of the biggest ones is the flexibility, the control you have. A lot of specialists end up opening their own private practices, which means they get to set their own hours, choose their patients, really create that work-life balance that works for them.
That's huge, especially for anyone who values their independence, who has that entrepreneurial spirit. But even beyond the flexibility, there's got to be something to be said for the personal fulfillment, right? You're actually improving people's lives in a very real way. I mean,
hmm
everyone remembers getting their braces off, finally having that smile they always wanted.
Absolutely. And it goes beyond just aesthetics, too. Specialized dentistry can have such a big impact on someone's self-esteem, their confidence, their overall health. Relieving pain, restoring function, even just giving someone the confidence to smile again. To be able to make that kind of difference is incredibly rewarding.
It's like you said earlier, it's about connecting with patients, hearing their concerns, and working together to find the best solution. But like any job, I'm sure it has its downsides. The guide mentioned the potential for high stress levels, which makes sense. I mean, you're dealing with people's health, and the work is so precise. How does a specialist dentist handle that pressure?
That's a really good point. Being able to manage stress is essential in this field. The guide really emphasized those skills: problem solving, attention to detail, staying calm under pressure.
It's like being a surgeon, you need those steady hands, that focus.
Exactly. But even more than the technical stuff, I think it comes down to passion. Specialists who genuinely love what they do, who are driven by helping others, by constantly learning, they're the ones who are best equipped to deal with the demands of the job.
It's about finding that balance, the technical expertise with the human touch, putting in the hours, but also reaping the rewards. Now, the guide also talks about the job market for specialist dentists, and that's where RoleCatcher's tools come in. But before we get into that, I'm curious about your take on the current landscape. What's the demand like for specialists these days?
Oh, it's definitely a growing field.
Mm.
The demand for specialists is definitely there and seems to be going up all the time. People are realizing how important oral health really is, and that means they're looking for more specialized care.
That makes sense, especially with more people getting older these days, facing those dental challenges that need a specialist. But just because there's demand doesn't mean it's an easy road, right? What are some of the, I don't know, roadblocks someone might hit when they're actually trying to land a job as a specialist?
Right? It's not just about, supply and demand. It could be seriously competitive
Yeah.
trying to get those top jobs. The guide mentioned a few things, like location can make a difference, obviously what your specialty is, even the reputation of the residency program you went through.
So it's not even over once the training's done. You still have to play your cards right early on. And that's where RoleCatcher comes in, right? With all their tools for navigating that job search.
Exactly. Their platform pulls in job listings from all over, so you don't have to spend hours on different websites. It's all right there. Plus, they've got those tools that help you customize your resume and cover letter for each job, really make it fit the description.
Which is so key these days, right? When so many applications are just getting sent into the void online, gotta stand out somehow. Make sure those skills and that experience really jump out, even on a screen.
For sure. And remember how we were talking about those automated systems? Well, that's another place where RoleCatcher comes in handy. They have AI tools that can actually help you optimize your application so it gets past those initial screenings. They can even check if you're using the right keywords for the job description.
Whoa, it's like having a secret weapon for your job hunt. So they're taking some of the stress out of it, helping you put your best foot forward, digitally speaking at least. But what about the actual interview? That's got to be the worst part, right?
Yeah, it can definitely be nerve-wracking.
Yeah.
But honestly, that's where RoleCatcher really impressed me. They have this huge database of practice interview questions, and they're organized by industry and job type, so you know you're getting the right stuff. You can even record yourself answering the questions and get AI feedback on your delivery, what you say, even your body language.
It's like having a personal coach in your pocket. And I'm guessing it's not about just like memorizing the right answers. It's more about understanding what they're looking for and getting comfortable talking about yourself and your experience.
Exactly. It's all about confidence and being clear, being able to really sell your skills, your experience, and letting that passion for dentistry shine through.
So they're giving people the tools, the practice to really own that job search process,
Mhm.
which is so valuable. But thinking back to something you mentioned earlier, that idea of continuous learning, the guide mentioned it's super important, but what does that actually mean for a specialist who's, already got the job?
Yeah, it's definitely not a one and done kind of deal. It's about always learning throughout your whole career, Going to conferences, reading those industry journals, maybe doing some workshops, that sort of thing. That's how you stay on top of the latest technologies, the newest techniques, all the new research that's coming out.
So it's about more than just, renewing your license every few years. It's that intellectual curiosity, that drive to always be
Well,
improving, learning new things.
right. And it's not always about those formal requirements either. Being part of the professional community is huge. Networking with colleagues, maybe joining a professional organization, even mentoring someone who's just starting out. Those are all ways to give back, to keep learning, and to really be part of the bigger picture of dentistry.
Yeah, the guide did mention a bunch of these professional organizations, and it made me think those could be really helpful for anyone who's even just considering this path.
Totally. You can connect with people, find mentors, learn about the latest advancements, even get access to special training and resources. They're a gold mine of information and support.
It's like that sense of community,
Yeah.
sharing what you know, helping others, all working together to make things better. So, to wrap things up here, for anyone listening who's thinking, hey, maybe this is IS for me, what would you say?
If you're passionate about oral health, if you're intellectually curious and you want a career that makes a real difference in people's lives, then dentistry might be the perfect fit for you. It's not always easy, but the rewards make it all worthwhile.
Well said. It's a field that asks for a lot: dedication, precision, and a real desire to help people. But with the right resources and support, like what RoleCatcher offers, it's a journey that can be incredibly fulfilling. So if you're ready to take the plunge and explore the world of specialized dentistry, make sure to check out our show notes for links to everything we talked about today. And until next time, keep those pearly whites shining bright.